This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's sunset safari. Here we have a lovely hyena just chilling in the water there. Isn't it just beautiful? And welcome, of course, to our schools. We've got Allenton Elementary and, of course, Glenwood Elementary with us. So nice to have you on board. I am Trishana, and I will be taking you on your afternoon safari today. And today we are hanging around the water holes, and here we have a lovely hyena chilling out where it's nice and cool. Now, it is very, very hot in Djuma today, and as you can see, all the animals think so too, so they're just going to cool down in this area. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go around to all the places that I think the animals will be hanging out in, and they will be nice and cool by the water. Now, for you guys at school, let your teacher know any questions you'd like to ask us using the hashtag SafariLive, and for those viewers that are watching outside of that, hashtag SafariLive and the YouTube chat stream. Jaden, what an awesome question. You would like to know how the animals get water. Well, the water comes from the rains, and then areas like this where you can see that the ground goes down starts to collect all that rain, and then you have puddles that build into bigger puddles and into a pond and into a small dam like this one is. And then the animals know where these are because they've been roaming around the reserve for a long time, and then they'll know exactly where to go to find some water. Sometimes little puddles, when there's a lot of rain, little puddles start to form, and then these little puddles fill up with water, and they come and they sit in it, or they'll drink from it, or sometimes if it's an elephant, they'll pick it up with their trunk, and then they'll splash it on them, and they have quite some fun. Now you see, this hyena is having a nap almost in the water because it's too hot to have a nap in the den. The den is where they live. Charlotte would like to know if there are tigers here in Djuma. So Djuma is the name of our reserve, and it is in South Africa. And we don't get tigers in Africa. You get tigers in Asia, but no tigers here in Africa. Tigers need forest. And here in Africa, we have what's called, or here in South Africa, in this area, it's bushveld. So there's little bits of bush and little bits of grass, and it's quite a dry area. And tigers don't like that as much, so they don't occur here at all. So no tigers here. But a great question nonetheless. Oh, and look at this. We have another visitor to the watering hole, and it is an Egyptian goose. Aubrey would like to know if the hyena will wake up. She definitely will wake up. It's just a matter of time. She just wants to be cool here until the sun goes down just a little bit. It's way too hot now to go back to the den where they live, and that is in a kind of a hole that they dig out. And there you can imagine is quite warm, and here is much cooler. So she will wake up when she's ready to wake up and she's cooled down sufficiently. She looks very peaceful, doesn't she? Having an afternoon nap. There's lots of things that live in the water as well. Terrapins and other such things. Lucas would like to know how hyenas hunt. Well, hyenas hunt in many different ways. People often think that hyenas are scavengers, but they are only to a little bit, only to a small extent. What they actually do is 50% of the time, or half the time, they actually go and actively hunt. And they'll do that mostly on their own. Even though they live together in what's called a clan, they'll often go by themselves and go out hunting and finding whatever they can. But then sometimes they'll work together to bring down bigger prey. Maybe something like a kudu, which is very big. But otherwise, they'll take down small things like baby impala or even big impala on their own. Anyway, my colleague and friend Steve would like to say hello to you all, so let's go to him.
Good afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome to my vehicle. My name is indeed Steve. I'm joined by BK on camera. And what a wonderful afternoon it is. It is very hot. And as you could see with Trishala, she's got her hyena in the water. I'm very jealous about that. So what we're doing is looking at little watering holes, seeing if we can find anything, specifically a beautiful little female leopard by the name of Tlalamba. Can you say that? Tlalamba. It's quite a tricky one off of the tongue. Tlalamba, which means the playful one. She is very cute. She was seen around here this morning. We went to the last place that she was seen and she's not there. So it looks like I'm going to have to work for it. Now, the thing is with leopards is they can't be sneaky like we can. If we wanted to hide, we could sort of drag a branch to eliminate our tracks. But leopards don't do that. They walk and they leave footprints on the ground, which is generally what helps us to find them. And if they are moving, which she's probably not moving right now because it's so hot, well, then other animals actually shout, because leopards, they eat meat and they like to catch birds and squirrels and impalas and all sorts of little animals. So whenever they see a leopard moving, they make all these funny sounds. So we're going to see if we can find them. But what we're going to do is, as we move along, every now and again, we're going to stop, we're going to switch off the vehicle, and we're going to take our hands like this. So you ready? Take your hands and put them here. And now we're going to be an animal in the wilderness listening, just like a big kudu. Have a listen. I just heard a rattling testicular. You heard that bird? I don't do it very well. Mrs. Olsman, you want to know how we get the names for the animals? Well, basically, many of the guides who work here, we are sort of partners with the lodge here at Druma, and the guides who work here all the time, they come up with the names. They're local guys, and they generally associate the animal with some form of either the area they're found in or with some behavioral trait that they have. And so they put it together and then we bring it forward. But it's definitely in conjunction with the people that work here full time. And sometimes we actually get our viewers involved in the naming of the animals, because our leopards specifically are absolute superstars. They really, really are. And Tlalamba was named purely because she was the most playful leopard that anyone's seen. She constantly running around. She was an only child, so she played with her mom all the time. Her mom's name is Tandi, and she is the sort of queen of the area. We haven't seen her for a couple of days. She's kind of just left Tlalamba, who's about 15 years old, to herself. But I'm just driving very slowly around here. She was seen very close to where we are now this morning. So the problem is, when it's very hot like this, the leopards are going to be somewhere in the shade. Sorry, did I say 15 years? Tlalamba is 15 months old. My apologies there. 15 months. It must be the sun cooking my brain. It's 98 degrees Fahrenheit. But that's okay, because I brought my very special water bottle. Oh, that's very nice. Glenwood Elementary, you want to know how hot it gets? Well, it gets up to about 110 some days. 110! And my head's cooking now, just 98. So it does get very hot, but with this heat, we're hoping it's going to bring some rain. But let's do that again, shall we? Let's stop the car. Let's have a little listen. Can you all do this with your hands? See how much better you can hear? Birds. See, we've got very small ears, if you think about it, like a hippopotamus, very small ears. But we see a lot of the animals out there, they've got enormous ears. Did you see those hyenas' ears before? They are so big. Hello, Zach. Well, you're definitely going to see a hyena. You want to know what animals you're going to see? Well, you're going to see a hyena. I'm hoping, Zach, to find you this little leopard, and then I'm sure we'll find some other animals along the way. It's a good day to find elephants, but I'm going to be putting in some work to try find this female leopard. Trishala is probably going to do some more work with the hyena and then maybe go find some lion. But I'm pretty sure that my other friend who's going to be coming on shortly, he is going to show you some hippos and some crocodiles and all sorts of other animals, because he's going to a big watering hole down in the southeast. Because when it's hot like this, the animals go to water. I've just checked a few little water points up there. She's not there, so I think she's either here or she's gone further down into the drainage. But it's very tricky when it's this hot, because everybody just wants to hide in the shade. So I'm just going to drive a little bit more down the road and see if we can find any of her tracks. And while I do that, I'm looking for her tracks in the sand. We're going to go over to my good friend Polly, who's probably in the southeast right now, for him to say good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, kids. My name is Ollie. Klo. May you please say that 10 times? It's so tricky, you know. You have to click before you say it right. So we are coming to you live in the western side of Kruger National Park. As Steve and Trishala said, we are in the same reserve, but at different sides. I'm on my way to the western side, to the eastern side of the reserve. So now I'm still on the north boundary, heading to the eastern side. You saw hyenas with Trishala. Now I'm going to the water hole, which is called Chitwa Dam. I will show you interesting and incredible animals. I will show you the birds. I will show you the biggest mammals, one of the biggest mammals we can find in Africa. I will show you the reptiles, big reptiles, because we have the crocodiles, we have the hippos, we have birds. Liam, you want me to find you alligators? We don't have alligators here in South Africa and in the southern Africa. We only have the Nile crocodile. Remember, you are located in the Western Hemisphere. We are located on the Southern Hemisphere. That's where, I'm sure where you live, you can find alligators. So you can see the habitat is different now because it's winter, it's summertime now, and it's rainy season. Lily, why is it called SafariLive? Lily, what an interesting question, Lily. It's called SafariLive. If you can break this name down, it's Safari and it's live. Safari means going to an African wildlife, taking a journey to the wildlife in the bush. And then in Africa, I'm saying in Africa because we're located in Africa, but taking a journey to the wildlife and doing it live. We are doing the show that it's not recorded and it's given to you on a later stage. What we are doing here, it's happening right now. Oh, you want me to tell you the time? And remember, we have the different time zones. I'm sure where you're at, it's some few hours ahead of you guys. So before I head to Chitwa, there's a water hole ahead of me. Before I show you interesting stuff in this water hole, let's go to Trishala with the hyena.
Look what we've found, another hyena. Oh, there she picks her head up for us. Now, these hyenas that we have here on Djuma, we know most of them individually. And I recognize this girl as June. And June was born in 2015, which makes her how old? 2016, 2017, 2018, and in May this year, May or June, it'll be 2019, and she'll be 4 years old. So there you are, looking at almost a 4-year-old hyena, doing the same thing. She's just chilling in the water and trying to cool down. Michael would like to know, how big is a hyena? A hyena is about 80 centimeters tall, and the females are larger than the males, and the females are about 70 kgs and the males are about 60 kgs. So the males are much lighter and smaller than the females. And this is a female that you're looking at right now. She's doing the same as the hyena we saw in the waterhole before, and she's just sleeping amongst the reeds. Now this is kind of like the hyena's front yard. Dean would like to know, what type of meat do the hyenas eat? Hyenas eat any meat they can find. Even if it's old and rotten, they don't mind. They'll even eat skin and bones and teeth, and they have no problem with that. They can even eat bits of the hoof, all sorts of things, because their stomach acids, the parts inside their stomach that can digest these things, are very, very strong. So they can break down a whole host of types of meat and all the things inside of the meat. That's why you'll find that a lot of the time they are well fed, because they can make good use of all the things that the other animals just leave behind. Jules would like to know, how many hyenas will we see? Well, we've seen 2 already, and we know that we have a few more in this den site here, and we will come back later when it's a bit cooler, because that's when they're most active. So we can count them all a little bit later when we come back and see how many there are in total. But we have a lot of hyenas that we can see. There's probably about 12, including the males, that we could see. So like I said, this is kind of their front yard. And then all the way on the left is where they live. Liam would like to know if I'm going to pick up the hyena when it's done in the water. Liam, I would not touch a hyena. They're quite dirty, to say the least. But they're very, very cute anyway, I think. I like them very much, but they are very dirty, and I would never, ever, ever touch a hyena. And especially because they're wild animals, so we shouldn't be touching them or trying to pick them up, because they work differently from us. They might not think that we're trying to help them or that we're not trying to hurt them, and that most of these animals here are potentially dangerous. Even though they may not seem this way right now, they definitely have the potential to be dangerous. So I will not be picking her up out of the water anytime soon. Shelley would like to know why hyenas have such big ears. Well, Shelley, if you look here, you see our ears are small like this. If I do this, I can hear better. So what it's doing is taking all the sound from around me and putting it in here, so it's big, like a satellite dish. You know, on your TV you might have a satellite dish outside, and it collects more because it's wider and it's got a bit of a curve. So that's why the hyena's ears are bigger, so it can hear better than we can. Oh, she's moving a little bit. Just trying to get comfy, I think. It is a really nice spot. And even Seb and Seb is the cameraman on camera today.
Hello, everyone.
My favorite. Don't tell the other cameraman I said that. And we have also parked in the shade because we want to be smart like the animals and stay out of the heat also. Just lying down and sleeping. Di Carey would like to know if hyenas can run fast. They can run fast for little bits. They are not really built for speed like you think of a cheetah or something like that, or a gazelle or buck. They can't run that fast, but they can run about 60 kilometers per hour, which is probably your average speed if you're driving, if your mom and dad are driving you on a residential road, roads with houses on the side. That's about the speed that they can run when they're sprinting, when they're trying their hardest. But they can sustain this run for quite a while, which is how their technique for hunting kind of works out, because they can run after something for a long time, whereas maybe something that runs very fast like a cheetah can only do it for a small amount of time. I just think they're very, very cute. I hope you guys think they're cute too. We also have a few cubs around, which I was hoping to get a glimpse at. But during the day when it's hot like this, the cubs stay inside the den. And then they'll come out at night when their mum is around, and then they know that they're safe. When they're in the den, then they're safe as well. And in the day, mum might only be maybe out trying to get something to eat, or maybe lying around here in the dam, so they don't like to come out because it's a little bit scary for them. But I am going to hang around here just for a little bit longer. Maybe you guys have more hyena questions. In the meantime, let's go back to Steve and see what he's been up to.
Welcome back. We are still searching. This poor young lady is hiding from us today because it's quite hot. I'm thinking she's maybe moved to some water, and we checked water behind us there, and she's not there. There's no tracks at all on the road, but off the road there where there's lots of long grass, it's very tricky to track a leopard there. So we're just going to continue on down this road and maybe get down into the drainage area, because this area is typical for leopard habitat. Now, I know one of your discussions is habitat, and what determines habitat? It is the area that an animal lives. So the area that it eats, sleeps, and most importantly, has its babies. So just because they eat and sleep there doesn't mean they have their babies there. There must be something else. For example, hyenas, they like to live in the ground where they have their babies in a termite mound. Leopards need thick vegetation like what we have here close to the river, where their youngsters can hide away. So if they don't have those areas for them to hide, well, then they'll get eaten. And ideally, you don't want your babies getting eaten. And also, this area is also very nice and thick and provides perfect habitat for leopards' favorite food, little small antelopes, which we hopefully will find for you. Liam, you want to know if we're going to use any tools? Well, the only tools we really have to look for these leopards today is my eyesight and my brain. So very important tools, things that I've been practicing for a very, very long time. But even though I have been practicing for a long time, I am no expert. And tracking a leopard is probably the hardest animal to find. Leopards are, by their nature, very secretive and very, very camouflaged. Those spots that you've probably seen on pictures of leopards make them blend into their environment so beautifully well. When it's thick like this, they blend in, and in the dry season, all the leaves on the trees are gone, and then you think it's impossible for the leopard to hide, but they still camouflage beautifully, even when there's almost no cover. It is a fantastic ability that they have developed, and the reason for camouflaging, first of all, is that the youngsters need to hide away from predators that will maybe catch them and eat them, but then also they need to be able to get as close as possible to whatever food that they want to catch, because lots of these animals are very quick. Now, leopards are very quick, but if it can't get, here we go. Here's one of the animals that leopards love to catch, just over my shoulder. And this is the habitat that they're in. just over there to the right of the tree, BK is going to frame them for you now. There we have some nyala. And those are beautifully camouflaged animals. We might not think so because, well, they're moving and they're a little bit orange. But leopards see black and white. So that nyala with their stripes and spots are very, very camouflaged, just like a leopard is. And this is where you find them in these thickets close to the river. And that's why we find leopards here. Because obviously, as I said, a habitat is an area an animal lives in and eats in. And, well, leopards like to eat meat. And nyalas are the right sort of size for leopards. But this young lady we're looking for, this 15-month-old young leopard, she's probably not strong enough or quick enough or stealthy enough to catch anything quite as big as a nyala just yet. She's sticking to birds and maybe to small baby animals or little scrub hares, which are like little rabbits. Hello, Marida. There are most certainly cheetahs in Africa, and cheetahs also come here from time to time. But cheetah, unlike the leopard, they like open expanses, long grass, open plains where there's lots of place to see. They don't want to be in the thickets, because in the thickets, that's where the lions and leopards catch cheetah and they will kill them, because lions and leopards don't like cheetah very much. So cheetah are normally out in very open areas where they can see very, very far so that nothing can sneak up on them. But have a look closely there at how blended in that nyala is. When it flicks its tail, you can see it. But when it doesn't flick the tail, all those colourful stripes in that body blend in. And when the nyala detects something, like it maybe thinks there's a leopard nearby, they just freeze. They stand completely still and they go invisible. Look at that. They're right there behind that bush, but we can't see them. That is how effective the camouflage is. Oh, well, I was off the vehicle for a moment, and I managed to get a tick on me. Now, boys and girls, I wonder if you've ever seen a tick before. I've got a tick here in my hand. He was trying to suck my blood, in fact. There he is. I'm just going to keep moving my hand until you can get him, BK. I just walked in the long grass to see if I could maybe spot that little leopardess. And there is a tick. He wants to suck my blood so that it can grow big and strong into an adult. Now, look at that. Isn't he cool? Ticks aren't very nice, to be honest, but they do form a part of nature. So I'm going to just throw him back on the grass where he can go and catch a nyala or a leopard and leave me alone. But while we move on and see if we can find any head or tail of this little leopard, let's go back over to my friend Ollie.
Welcome back. So I was still on my way to the eastern side, where I will show you one of the biggest mammals. What happened here, I saw these wonderful tracks of this animal, the biggest mammal that lives on land. We know that's an elephant, and the biggest mammal that lives in the planet, you know, it's a whale. So we have the beautiful tracks here. These are the elephant tracks. Let me come this side because of the sunlight. You can see it starts from here to here. Imagine how big this thing is. Look at my footprints. It takes two. Yo, look how it's like here and here. Let me go inside this thing and show you this and that. It simply means this is the biggest and heaviest animal you can find here. It's like this size, this height. They can grow up to 6,000 kilograms. That's 6 tons. And just imagine if you have a small vehicle like this, it can climb on top of it because the car is small and the elephant is big. And what is happening here, you can see the markings. There are markings here on the ground. This elephant was walking that way. So what happened, while it's walking, it was dragging its trunk. You know, an elephant it uses its trunk. It has a trunk that uses that as a hand. I can say it uses a trunk as a hand because it can suck water, it can suck sand, it can also break the branches when it wants to feed. So what happened here, it was doing this with its trunk. Why it was doing this, I think it's fun sometimes, and sometimes you know, if they do this, they're collecting small particles of sand and then they draw it on their body after they were swimming in the water or in a dam or river. That's what they do. And that soil particles, they will combine with water and they will make clay. And that clay will act as a sunscreen. I have my towel with me. It's very hot. It's 37 degrees today, Celsius, and that's about 96 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very warm today. Ava, you want to know how do elephants drink water? That's an interesting question. As I've said, they have a trunk because elephants, they don't have hands. They have a trunk that acts as the hand, I can say, but that trunk, it does a lot of things. They go to the water holes, they put their trunk in the water and then they suck water. Then after sucking the water, they will remove and take that trunk straight into the mouth. They don't drink using that trunk. That trunk acts as nose, they breathe with it, and they also use the trunk to break the branches, to collect grasses, a lot of things about a trunk. Jules, are we going to follow the elephant tracks? No, we won't follow the elephant tracks. You know what? Elephants, they are not territorial. It means they don't have a specific place to stay for the rest of their lives. They walk all over this reserve, and we have a lot of elephants. What happens is they walk vast distances. They can walk kilometers and kilometers, many kilometers in a day. We might be lucky to see them where we are going right now because it's a water hole. On the heat like this, you know, you have to drink and take a lot of water because you have to keep yourself hydrated. We have something there. Can you see we have something there? We have a bird. This is called a Cape turtle dove. It's easily recognized by the neck, by the ring on its neck. And it makes a very beautiful call, which goes like this. And to tell that it's hot this afternoon, you can see the wings of this bird. It means it's cooling itself down, and you can see it's standing in the shade. Hello, Petty. And these are the birds that you can't rely on when there's an animal around, because I've never seen this bird alarming when there's a cat. We are watching and looking at this pretty bird. While we are doing that, let's go to Trishala with the hyena.
Well, wasn't that cool? Don't you think Goli is such a cool person showing you all those things? Well, we have decided to leave the hyena just for now because we are going to go back to her rather. But in the meantime, I'm going to check the other places where there's water, because where there's water, all the animals will be trying to cool down. Now here's a patch of more water. Let's just stop here. Can you see how they collect naturally in there? Oh, if you saw that bird fly off, that's the same bird Goli was showing you the call off. Now, I'm very bad at bird calls, so good thing he's done it for me. Now, I always have my trusty binos, so I can look out and see what is hanging out there. Oh, what is that you see there, Sid? Oh, there's some impala that are moving slowly past us. Let's go a little bit forward and see if we can get a better view of them. How's that? Oh, don't go away, impala. There we go. Look at that. That is an antelope called an impala. And you can see that it's a male because of the big horns. Look at how he's looking at us. He's just making sure that we are not a threat to him. And there you go. He's relaxed again. And impalas, they are browsers, so they eat or they're kind of mixed feeders. So they'll eat new shoots and grass, and then they'll eat leaves. Meredith would like to know why impalas eat grass and vegetation and not meat. That's because, Meredith, they have evolved, or they've changed in a way through the whole history of their lineage. They've changed so that they can eat just these things, and they know that they don't have to compete with other animals that eat meat. They also have specially designed stomachs with all different types of bacteria and different types of acid in there to digest the leaves. Because did you know that we as humans and lots of other animals can't actually digest what's called cellulose in the leaves, which is what the little bits of protein and kind of structural part of the leaf is. So they are eating leaves instead of eating meat because they're designed that way. And it's all part of the food chain. And that is with, oh, off they run. Look how fast they can run. They're all part of the food chain, and that means you start off with plants, and then from plants you go to the things that eat the plants, like these herbivores, and then things that eat them. Abigail would like to know how many miles does an impala move every day. That really depends on the resources that are around it. If there's enough water and there's enough leaves and greenery around for them to eat, then they won't move much at all. But then if there isn't, and it's a poor environment, it's dry and there's not many leaves and everything is not very tasty for them, then they can move much further. In fact, I don't know how far they can move, but definitely a couple miles or so. But if there's everything they need is in one spot, then there's no need to move and they'll stay in that one spot. Oh. Kind of like us, now we see there's nothing left here, so we are going to move a little bit. Let us drive off and find the next watering hole and see what we can get there. You can see that everything is really green around us at the moment. In fact, it can even get greener, but then it can also get really dry. And all of that depends on the different type of kind of sand that's around, or the soil, and then it also depends on the rains. And we haven't had much rain in the last few weeks, but we're expecting some rain tomorrow. And with the rain, you get new shoots, and all the animals are quite happy. Also means that they get a good, cool, fresh water drink. When you can see with the other pools, it looked a bit green and a bit muddy. Not that the animals mind it, but they'll always like and prefer something cleaner. Now, let's go to Steve and see what's something lovely he's got for you.
Welcome back. Well, we are still searching for this little leopard. I'm sorry we haven't managed to find her for you, but this is a beautiful marula tree. And leopards love to hang out in marula trees, and quite often we actually find them in there. And the reason they hang out in there, not only they can keep quite nice and cool up there, but also because hyenas like to steal food from leopards. And leopards will catch animals like the nyala and like the impala that you saw just now with Trishala. And so they take them up there so they can snack on them as many times as they want to without the hyenas stealing them from them. Because, to be honest, the hyenas just like to steal food from leopards all the time. Leonie, you want to know what plants are out here? Wow, there are at least 91 different species of grass. And, well, there's probably 100 or so, maybe 300 or so species of trees. There are so many. But what I wanted to do for you now, because Trishala was talking about nutrients and about how plants give back and how the whole cycle works. And the marula tree that we see there, I've managed to get one of their fruits that I have been sort of ripening in my car to get it nice and yellow. This is the marula fruit, and I've cut it open beautifully for you there. And it's so full of juice. It is so good. So high in juice, so high in nutrients, so high in sugar and vitamin C. The elephants go crazy. So do we, actually. The baboons, many animals out here will feed on this. So the marula produces this beautiful fruit so that a big animal will eat it, go inside, and then they'll walk very far away and they'll have a poo, fall on the ground, and then hopefully the seed inside that will grow. Now, if it comes in an elephant's droppings, imagine a big mound of elephant droppings and then this seed inside. It's like a beautiful compost so that tree can grow, and hopefully it will turn into a monster. Can you imagine? There's a small seed inside here, and it's going to turn into a tree just like that. Hello, Dean. You want to know why it's summer here and not winter where you are? Well, Dean, it's because of the Earth, really, Dean. And the sun doesn't move, but the Earth moves. And so as the Earth moves, when you have winter, because we are in the southern hemisphere and you are in the northern hemisphere. So when we have our winter, you have your summer, and when we have our summer, you have your winter. It's that simple, really. The Earth moves like this. That's why we get hot and cold seasons. Have you ever wondered why it gets so cold and then it gets so hot? Well, we're the opposite from you. You're all getting very cold there, and we are getting very hot. But our summer is also our wet season when the rains come and when the rains provide all the life that the bush needs once again. Okay, well, while we continue on looking for any signs of this leopard, seems like Ollie has finally made it to Chitwa watering hole. He's got a very interesting fish catching bird.
Well done, Ollie. I'm at Chitwa Dam. I've arrived, and something amazing is happening here. There's a bird hunting, which is called an African darter. There, right next to that, there. Oh, I missed it. It just went down again. We have an African darter, and it's so amazing that it takes its head out of the water and it submerges again. That's how it hunts. You can easily say this is a snake. Let's wait and see. Lim, no, I won't catch a bird here. This is a reserve where the birds live their own life, and all the animals are living the way they want. We are not allowed to catch any bird, any fish, any animal, or frog. So we are here to look at them and to have great sightings, no touching, no catching, no hunting, nothing. Oh, this bird. So it might come up again. It's hunting. Please be patient. Please be patient. It's still holding its breath underneath there. please be patient. And thanks for your patience. There. Next to there, up. Here we go. We have an African. Oh, it's gone. Did you see that? I'm sure you all saw that. That is a bird, not a snake. It hunts in the water. So that was amazing. So great. Let's go to one of the beautiful long birds you can find. There we have a beautiful Goliath heron. It's my first time to see this bird today in this place. I only saw this bird before I started with SafariLive. You can see the birds. Next to it there, these black and white birds called the blacksmith lapwing. And that one there, it's three-banded plover. You can see the small bird that's busy feeding there. And the Goliath heron, it hunts very good and it's successful. You know how it hunts? This one that I'm talking about, this tall one there. It doesn't hunt like the bird I've shown you earlier. It doesn't go in the water. It just stands where it's standing right now. You can see, and then it waits patiently. And if a fish or a crab passes by, it will stab it with its beak. Look at its beak. It's so sharp and strong. Daikari, why are herons so big? Looking at their habitat and what they eat and how they hunt, remember that these are, I can say, they're aquatic birds. You normally find them around the rivers or dams or ponds. They feed on fish. They can eat frogs and crabs. So what they do is they have to have these long legs. We can see they have long legs that enables them to stand in the water. And then they will open its wings and they will stand there still. Then they will look and search for an insect. So let's go to Steve and leave these. Oh, my beautiful kids, it's the end of your show now. We can meet other time. And again, please tell your teachers to send more questions. It was wonderful to have you in the show. An hour, it feels so small. So, goodbye. Hello, regular viewers, hello, and welcome to SafariLive again. We had a wonderful time with the kids. An hour, it felt so small. And that was quick, hey? We are looking at this wonderful bird here, which is called a Goliath heron. So for any questions or comments, you can send them on #SafariLive on Twitter or YouTube chat stream. There's this bird over here, but I will go to it if I say it. It's hunting. It's in a hunting mode. It's called an African darter. It's busy feeding. So we have this beautiful thing happening right now, but we have to be as patient as possible because this thing keeps on submerging and coming out and submerging and coming out. So that's why we are so patient. I believe you're also going to be patient. And now we are looking at this bird, which is called a blacksmith lapwing, a well and famous bird you can find in this place. You will find them in each and every water hole you can find in Djuma. They're so famous. They're also foraging. Last time we saw the chicks, but now I can't see anything here. Hopefully those chicks are safe or they've grown. And we have this beautiful Ravenda. How many minutes can a darter stay submerged? About 2 minutes, I can say that, because we've been waiting patiently, and it's more than a minute now. In my experience, it's about 2 minutes. And we have also a saddle-built stock. He's not in a hunting mode. Since we're here, he was just standing there, doing nothing, not training, just standing. I believe it was hunting before he came here, so just relaxing and taking a short breath before going back to hunting. It's a very hot day today. That's why we also have the guy who's so scarce to see, the Goliath heron. It's about 37 degrees Celsius, and that's 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Look there, Uncle James, there. That just went out of the water. There, it just went out of the water now. It was hunting. Look, it has to open its wings. Look at this African darter. It was hunting. We only saw its head and a little bit part of its neck. Remember, they have to open their wings. Yes, because they don't have oil that acts as a waterproof, so they rely on sunlight to dry themselves. That's the simplest way to identify darter, because in most cases when they're out from hunting, they will look for a place or a pole or a dead tree, a dead log. They'll stand on it, then they'll open their feathers like this. This is magic. And at first when he came here, we thought it was a snake or some species of some sort we didn't know, and then we realized that this is a darter, an African darter. Remember, you can be confused between a darter and a cormorant. If you look at its beak, the darter has a sharp stabbing beak, and the cormorant, the beak is not sharp. It has a hook on the front. We can listen to that. There are birds singing around the dam. Listen to that. While I'm still identifying birds using their calls, we can go to Trishala with an update.
Hello everybody, now that the school drive is over, I have all of you normal viewers with me. How are you? It's so nice to have you on board yet again. Now, sweltering here in Djuma, absolutely hot. Oh, let me just answer my game drive radio. Someone is trying to contact me. Go ahead. I am approaching Buffelshoek watering hole. See, you've got to be on the ball, checking all these things out. And it's important for each one of us to know exactly where we are, so then we don't double up on the same things, you know? Oh, that breeze is great. Absolutely great. Now passing so many wonderful trees, and we are making our way to the watering hole. At least we're trying to. But we're taking a roundabout route so we can see if there's anything else we can spot. Remember, using the hashtag SafariLive or the YouTube chat stream so you can talk with us. We always love hearing from you guys. Seb and I are also looking for shade today. Whereas and I seem to be going back down, so I'm actually going to turn around. Lovely trees. See, even they come close to us. We have encounters with them too. Just want to turn, guys. Oh. Cool, so we saw some hyena. We know that the hyena den is active, and we are definitely going to go back there just as soon as it gets a little bit cooler and we know that they'll be out a bit more. Now I saw June, and I'm not sure who the other one was, and I didn't get too good of a look. But definitely June was hanging out in a pool just outside their new resort. I'm sure you've seen the hyena den with that wonderful front yard, I call it, with the plunge pool. And she was just cooling off in there. So we're definitely going to go back, and then we will hopefully see the cubs. The new cubs. I can't wait to see them. Absolutely can't wait. Hopefully at the watering hole, there'll be a lot of more animals kind of chilling and trying to get cool as well. And then Seb and I can park under some shade and get cool also. I've packed a couple marulas. Always refreshing. Well, I'm still driving around, still trying to get to the watering hole. In the meantime, let's go to Xoli, who's got some really fat hippos for you.
Yes, I'm still here, Chitua. We have a lot going on here. I'm looking with my binoculars. And also Uncle James is using the camera. I'm with Uncle James this afternoon, and with the hippo that for his friends, the new friends. I think these friends are birds. You know these birds, they look for ticks. Hippos, they also get ticks when they go foraging. When they come back, those ticks, they drown because the hippo lives in water. So that's why these birds, you can see that we have the oxpeckers on top of that hippo trying to get males. Remember, they are not only eating or looking for ticks, they're also looking for a wound so they can feed. Uncle James, if you can go on that shoreline there, they're beautiful. So we have the white-faced ducks, the white-faced whistling ducks. I think I saw them with my binoculars. Yes, there. That's their call. Zimbinda. If you've been to South Africa, and there's this lady, the late Brenda Fassie, she had a song called Zimbinda. So this bird says, the call says like that. White-faced whistling ducks. These are the ducks that they don't like swimming at all. They are not the fan of swimming. They're only, in most cases, they stand or walk or just be around the water holes. You can see them swimming, but seldom they swim. You can easily recognize them by the size. They are like 2 times as smaller than Egyptian goose. Let's see, let's check the guy whether he's still up and about. He might be returning soon because I haven't seen him. Oh, this bird is African darter feeding. Cool. Wants to know, will that African darter be eaten by a croc? That is possible, but I haven't witnessed that before. What's happening is a darter, when it's submerged there, it's so faster than a croc. I can bet that. They move when they maneuver so quick inside this water. They are more faster than a croc in the water. And if they might not see a croc there while concentrating on what they are doing on their hunting, they will definitely be attacked by a croc. That is possible. You know, a croc is an opportunist. If it sees an opportunity, it will go for it. And if the darter loses its grip, most definitely a croc will go for that. And look what's happening there. This blacksmith lapwing is chasing this three-banded plover. It stopped now. Why is this bird called a blacksmith lapwing or blacksmith plover? Beck. What a nice question there. It's because of the call they make. It's like ding, 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 ding. That's why it's called a blacksmith, because of its call. What's happening here, it's this blacksmith, it's chasing this bird. It might be because of this blacksmith has a nest around there, or has the chicks that are not yet to be hunting for themselves. So they are still young to follow the mother or the parent. Because you know, these guys, they're taking risks at all times. This is a water hole, and animals come here and drink often, but they nest here. Oh, we have the youngster here. Go to your right, Uncle James, right? Yes, there. Oh, this one hasn't been stabbed by an elephant. I think there's a parent coming from the side there. This one, you can see it started foraging on its own, getting lessons from the old ones. Blacksmith lapwing can be territorial and highly protective to these youngsters, especially if you are around next to their nest or approaching their nest or next to their young ones. Oh, don't think of going in there. You might drown, youngster. So you can hear the calls from this parent, zoop, 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 zoop. I'm sure it's telling this youngster, don't do that. Stay away from water. Zoop, zoop, zoop. Can you hear that? Zoop, 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 zoop. It's from the old one. It's talking to this youngster. I don't know what it's saying, but I'm assuming that there's some discipline going on now. There's a water park drinking on the left there, Uncle James. We have to move. There's a car at the back. We have the car, so we need to open for this car. I'll move forward there, and then I'll turn back because there's a lot happening here. I'm so willing to see. While I'm searching for the nice spot, let's go to Trishala. He's got something for you.
I have caught up with one half of the celebrity couple here at Juma. It looks like it's Scuba Steve. Yes, he is lifting himself out of the water to bow. Say thank you, thank you. Yes, I know I had a wonderful performance yesterday in SafariLives. But now he's shy. So I wonder where his consort is. She might have just taken a walk down that little... Rosalind would like to know how much a male hippo can weigh. Rosalind, a lot. Over, I think, 1.5 tons. So that's 1,500 kgs, which is a lot. And they have this barrel-like body, so you can imagine that running towards you. And even if it trips and falls and lands on you, you'd be smashed. But that's also the reason they spend a lot of time underwater or in water and not so much time on land. Because if they had to constantly be supporting that body on land, they'd have to be much more structurally sound. So they can afford to have all this kind of fat and weight in them because they're in the water, so they're buoyant most of the time. And you find the same thing with whales. And, I mean, they're actually very closely related to whales and cetaceans. But you find that because they are in water and they have this buoyancy that they can rely on, they can afford, in terms of biologically afford, to invest a lot more in size. And that's how whales and hippos can be quite similar in that way. It's amazing to think that hippos, or rather, yeah, I guess hippos have come from and evolved from the same line as cetaceans. Larina would like to know if we can see babies from this couple anytime soon. Well, I actually haven't seen them engaging in too much mating behavior yet, or ritualistic mating behavior yet. I hope so. That would be nice. It'd be a nice area for this little one to grow up in. But I haven't seen any mating behavior yet. Hopefully, if we see them kind of sniffing each other a lot more and things like that, then maybe there'll be a baby to come along. I think that'll be quite cool. There he goes under. Let's see what else is at the dam today. I saw some hardy-das in the far end there. There they are. Ron would like to know if lions are the only natural predators of hippos. Well, hippos don't actually have many predators because they have a huge advantage of being in the water. Being in the water, being aggressive, and being the size that they are. And like I had said before, they have one of the highest levels of constant testosterone levels than any other animal any other individual in the animal kingdom. So they are really aggressive, and they are constantly defending their territory. So, I mean, apart from a lion being very opportunistic by grabbing a hippo, it's mostly unlikely. But they do fall victim to each other because of their fights and the things like that. They do get hurt quite a bit through that. And most mortalities for young hippos or babies are usually other hippos. And of course, I mean, things that are babies are always vulnerable. It's the same with lions. They can be the apex predator, but the babies are really, really vulnerable. And babies here can be vulnerable to crocs, especially but it's difficult for a croc to take down a full-grown hippo unless it's injured or something else has weakened it. But I'd say hippo is a tough thing to take down. And also remember, its skin is quite rolled and fat, so to get through that, it's difficult. Was that from Bob, who would like to know what the difference between a pan, dam, and watering hole is? Well, a dam is basically man-made. And a pan is pretty much the same as a watering hole. We like to call Buffalo's Hook a watering hole because it is mostly natural, but you can also see just by the structure that it's been excavated by man as well. So it's called Buffalo's Hook Dam, Buffalo's Hook watering hole, but I think it's a bit big for a pan. When I think pan, I imagine something smaller. He's gonna dive, buddy. Get off there. I saw a kingfisher diving down there on the far end of the dam as well. Let's see if we can get that. The hardy-does are still there. I quite like hardy-does. I know most people don't because of their noise. One noise I can probably make well. Ah! Ah! They sound like that, like they're scared of the flying that they're doing. So hardy-does is an ibis. There we go. I just saw the kingfisher dip down again. And I think they're quite cool. We get them a lot in Durban, and I used to see them even in my flat in Durban where we come out onto like the balcony. They're always there, and you often see them in pairs like this. And I know they might look a bit drab, but you can see a bit of a sheen coming off them every time they're in the sunlight, and they glint just a little bit. And that has nothing to do with color and everything to do with light and air and keratin layers and scattering, which I think is super, super cool. Hey, hardy-does, did you come from Durban? No, they're locals, they say. Huh, we've got a red-billed oxpecker. 2 of them just chilling on Scuba Steve. So they'll take care of any pests and especially ticks that are on him. I find they can be quite brutal. They would actually scrape skin until it bleeds. They're kind of vampires, I feel. Quite brutal. Today I was thinking of doing since we were talking about the lineage of the hippos, let's just say hi to our Egyptian geese couple before we get into it. I wanted to do Today in History. Today in History, Darwin was born, which I think is quite cool, 210 years ago. Charles Darwin. And a lot of what we know now is based on the things that he described way back then. 210 years old. I always think he is the father of biology. Definitely the father of evolution. Let's leave this Scuba Steve and go to the other Steve for an update.
To a much thinner Steve, I believe. I'm nowhere near as large as the Scuba Steve himself. Welcome back, everybody. How are we doing on this wonderful afternoon? Of course, my name is Steve, and BK is on camera. And how interesting, Darwin, the day of Darwin. Now, when he wrote the book, The Origin of Species, people thought he was mad. People thought he was completely cuckoo. I mean, Darwin was just a dude who got on a boat and just went and brought things back and then wrote something. And now we look on his works and the things he postulated about as well, a lot of it, to be truthful, a lot of it's been disproven, but most of his actual theories are what science revolves around today. But back in the day, 200, can't believe it's over 200 years ago. Wow. Anyway, but when it happened, people were very conservative. People still thought the earth was almost flat by that stage. I know that Columbus had already sailed by that stage, but there were still a lot of people who were very doubtful, and the church controlled absolutely everything. And Darwin's theories and his ideas were really, really shunned by a huge majority of the scientific community. At that stage, everyone was going out in the era of science to try and prove everything, because religion was playing, religion had been everything until that point, and people wanted more. They wanted to know more about the world and how things worked and where things came from, and such interesting stories and tales from Darwin's trip to the Galapagos Islands. I got that out eventually. Very, very interesting stories of the finches. I've actually read the book Darwin's Finches, a fantastic book which shows evolution happening in the moment. I think it was written in the 70s, and the stories that are coming out of that book are incredible about how the currents and global warming and El Nino lead to all sorts of strange and remarkable designs in the finches there. In times of abundance, all the birds survive, but in times of stress, the specialists, so the small beak able to feed on the smaller seeds, and the big fat beak able to break open bigger seeds, and that's led to a species shift on those islands, and it's still happening today in front of our eyes. It's absolutely incredible, and Darwin basically took back some of those finches all those many years ago, and he didn't really know much about it at the time, and he postulated things, and now they are proving everything that Darwin spoke about with those finches. His drawings, his ideas, was all true. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. A name that not many people knew back in the day. He was just a dude with debt. He didn't really have much going for him. And not the most attractive of men. If you've ever seen any photos of Darwin, he's got this really long beard and like warts on his nose. But the ideas, obviously in the mind, incredible. And what we know of animals today, a lot of it has come from his thinking, evolutionary thinking. Fantastic. Well, anyway, everybody, you know we are 100% live and interactive. To hear from me, #SafariLive. I've spent the better part of an hour trying to find the little princess Tlalamba, and no luck. So I haven't managed to find her, but then we did find the tracks of, and then a troop of baboons in the area. So if they spotted her or smelt her, no doubt they would have chased her off into the distance. So I'm sure she's okay, everybody, don't stress, but there was a troop of baboons in that area. And so no doubt she would have moved away quick, smart. Romit, do you want to know what my favorite fish-eating bird is? Wow, what a question. Sure, okay. Well, while we think about it, we've got a nyala coming out into the open here, a little young bull. He's followed by a lady. Romit, my favorite fish-eating bird. Well, I really enjoy the green-backed heron. If you spend time watching the green-backed heron fish, they actually have the ability to not only stand on the bank and catch very fast-moving insects such as dragonflies, but they'll actually fish in moving water, where they'll take an insect, put it in the water upstream, and let it float downstream, and keep catching and putting it upstream, downstream, until a fish finally comes for the bait, and then they catch it and grab it in the water. I've seen it happen. Most incredible thing I've ever seen from a bird, to be honest. So the greenback heron from the top, on the top of my mind now. But then the Pell's fishing owl is just one of those very, very special owls that you don't. Oh, you got a really close-up view of me there. I don't know if any of you've seen a Pell's fishing owl. There's the largest of the owl species, and it's a very specialized fisher. And the fish eagle and Verreaux's eagle owl, they are big, big problems for the Pell's fishing owl. I'll show you a photo now. Some oxpeckers calling there. I'm sure that it is because of these nyala. But here is the Pell's fishing owl, an endangered species, in fact. Only occur. Let me just put it in a better angle for you. There we go. Let's just do it like that. There he is. I'm just going to move my screen so that we get the right glare. Black eyes, and rather big. much bigger than you would think, feathered as legs, and they occur on perennial rivers. The Luvuva River and the Olifants River are the two rivers in the Kruger National Park where you commonly find these birds, and people come from all over the world to view the Pell's fishing owl. And would you like to hear what it sounds like? Yes? I knew you'd say that. Gotta put it right in there. Not very easy to hear, I'm afraid, but that's what they've done with very rare sort of birds. On the bird apps, they've really dimmed the volume so that you can't play it loud to distract that bird. If you ever come across a very rare bird, you'll notice that whatever bird call they've got on any app is very, very diminished. You can hear that bird call from very, very far away at night, and it's a very special bird. It took me, I ran the trail in Kruger, up in the north, in Pafuri, in the Makuleke area, the northern part of Kruger on the Luvuva River. I ran it for a year, and I was there the entire year, and I only saw my first Pells in October of that year, and then I saw it every day for 3 weeks. So they are creatures of habit, and they'll often go to the same perch along a river when the river is a certain sort of depth, moving at a certain sort of speed, and then they catch fish very efficiently. You find them sitting on a perch just like looking into the river for hours, and that call is a territorial call that's heard at night. So that is probably my favorite endangered species. And when I went to Malawi, they're a trash bird up in Malawi. If you've ever heard the term trash bird, it means a bird that is just very common. Down in South Africa, you really have to work hard to get them, but in Malawi, well, in the rivers there, they are very, very common because of the food resource. So I don't mean to call them any negative name when I say trash bird, but for example here, to get a yellow-throated long claw here, it's impossible. But other parts of South Africa, you get them, but up in the Mara, they're everywhere. So it is a trash bird in the Mara. What have you got, BK? Have you got something? No, that is a stick. BK has fallen for... Here, show them, BK. Show them what you have finally seen. Everyone has fallen for the eagle in the tree. Let's see if you can spot it. The eagle in the tree. Not that one. The one on the left, BK. Oopsie. Oh, wait, hang on. There we go. The eagle in the tree, everybody. I've seen it many times. It is a stick. It is a stick of a tree that is broken. So BK is now... He's spotted that, and you'll see it every time you come past now. So we've spent a lot of time, as I said, in the area looking for Tlalamba. Maybe she's moved because of the baboons. I'm not sure. We'll go back there a little bit later when it's a bit cooler. Maybe she'll be moving. If she is in that area, she's probably just flat. I really did try very, very hard. But anyway, we're going to change course. We're going to go and have a look at Treehouse Dam, see if anything's going on over there, and then take it from there. Let us know what you'd like to talk about there this afternoon. See if we can find it for you. I wouldn't mind finding another snake. I found a black mamba the other morning, and then a boomslang the same evening. If you don't like snakes, you don't want to be on my vehicle. BK was quite excited to see the snakes. Hey, BK, you're not scared of snakes? No, he's not. Many people in Africa are afraid of snakes. There's just very bad stories from a young age, you know, and talk about, I mean, even in the Bible, the devil was a snake and corrupted everybody. The snake already got a bad rap from day one. I mean, all they are is an animal that's trying to get away from being hurt or eaten. And so if you poke at them or move, they get threatened. I mean, there's this long thing with a face and a mouth, and the rest of it's vulnerable. I mean, if you didn't have too much of a body or anything to protect yourself other than your mouth, you'd also get a bit frightened and hiss at people and show your fangs, wouldn't you? I most certainly would. Are you there, Murray? You seem like I've lost you. No? Seems I've lost Murray. Okay. Sounds like Murray would like me to link away. Very good. Well, we are going to continue on our missionings here. In the meantime, let's go back down to, I think, Chitwa Watering Hole and see what birds Ollie's got for you now.
Charles Darwin. One thing I know about Charles Darwin, it reminds me of school. I was doing life sciences, and he wrote the book called On the Origin of Species. And there's one thing I remember about Charles Darwin. He was talking about evolution, and there was this thing, as he said, giraffes has this long neck because they have to stretch higher for food. Then that's why giraffes, they have long necks. Tell me if I'm wrong. Charles Darwin said. So we are driving around Chitwa now. We left Chitwa Dam. This is Kuchaba's territory. You know, Kuchaba has the little ones. Haven't seen them yet. And we're still not sure whether it's Tingana who impregnated Kuchaba or the skittish male leopard. Because this is I can say this is the boundary of Hosanna, of Tingana, not Hosanna, Tingana. So we're not quite sure yet. You know, you need to do blood tests or some tests, some DNA to prove such things. So if we take maybe some samples from Tingana and samples from Kuchaba in the cups, maybe something might come out. It's thick around here. This is, I have the birds. I can see birds there. Yes, it's looking at you. Black one. So let's see what this is. Let me look at my... Oh, it's a southern black teeth. My call is bad. This is southern black teeth. This bird is an indicator of a bird's party. Because in most cases, when these birds, you see them, they like to involve themselves in parties. They are in an ivory tree. It's one of the trees like you don't see often here. There are not so many trees of this kind. You remember, we have the brown ivory tree, we have the red ivory tree, and it's so difficult to differentiate between the two species in dry season. This is called the brown ivory. And it's difficult to tell. You must wait for the wet or summer season to tell between the two. Because the only difference is if you look at the leaves. And the one which is brown, the one you're looking at, the leaves, they can be like an arrowhead. And this one, and the other one, the red ivory, will be blunt. It won't be that sharp on the edges of the leaves. And if you can look at its bark, check the bark, the trunk, the Uncle James, the trunk. If you just concentrate on that, you can confuse this tree as a marula tree. The bark nearly the same. And that's why it looks confusing during dry season and easily recognized during the wet season. Let's move forward and see whether we can bump on and see Kuchaba's tracks and start following, do some search. Christine wants to know what time of the year will the insects start to die? Insects, they don't like cold weather. They don't like winter season. They come around September. They come out spring season. Insects, they show themselves after the rains. During summer season, when it's hot, you can see the insects. During dry season, you hardly see the insects. You hardly see the insects. So it's still hot. I'm with my towel. Yeah, I have to use a towel. It's hot. If we didn't have any crocodiles or hippos or things in our rivers or dams, I would be swimming by now. Just park my vehicle there and swim. Oh, there. Shh, there. Oh, gone. Steenbokkie. We saw two steenbok. We saw two steenbok. So it was a male and a female. Remember, during this time, and then when you saw them in pairs, it means they are up to something. They're breathing. And remember, it's February. They're up to something. They are territorial. The males and the females are territorial. And they meet during the time where they need to mate. And they're monogamous. They pair for life. Unless one dies, they will find a new mate. What they do is, out of breeding season, they have territories not far from each other, like the neighboring territories. The female will build its territory here, and the male will have its territory there. And then when it's time to, they meet. Remember, there's this thing about monogamous animals. Some people, they can tell you that if an animal is monogamous, it will pair for life. And if one pair dies, it won't mate after that until it dies. And for my experience, I don't believe that. We saw with that Wolbach's eagle. We don't know what happened to the partner, and it brought a new partner this year. It means maybe that partner died where they migrate from, or that partner was killed or he got sick. There are a lot that can happen. That's why animals, they need to survive. If the partner dies, the male and the female dies, it will get another partner and spread the species. So I'm still driving and hoping we'll find something interesting for you. Let's go to Trishale.
Well, I'm also hoping to find things. I've come down here to Galago Pan hoping that with a bit of water and the heat, some animals would be around, but none so far. And Seb says this is how he knows Galago Pan. Last time I was here, I had a pack of wild dogs. So I was hopeful. Let me just look with trusty binos. Nada. Let's see if we have any. Ah, there's a woodland kingfisher. Just on this dead tree in front of us. Can you see it? So I got into this on one of the drives, but I didn't actually get properly into it. And I wanted to tell you about, obviously you can see the blue on the kingfisher, and I wanted to tell you a small myth that I'd learnt that had to do with kingfishers and the halcyon blue that we often speak about. And it had to do with a couple. It's an ancient Greek myth, and it had to do with Alcyone, or Alcyon, however you want to pronounce it, and her husband Syx. And the two of them had often compared themselves to Zeus and Hera. And Zeus didn't like that very much, so it was a bit sacrilegious to him. So he decided that he is going to, well, basically he made rough seas when Syx went out to sea, and then he was lost at sea. And then the story goes that Alcyone then decided to throw herself off the cliff after she had realized that that's what he had done. And then, of course, back and forth, Greek myths, gods suddenly feel sorry for them, and then he turned them both into kingfishers. And that is where we get the genus name Halcyon from. So it then went that, obviously you might know the saying halcyon days, and it went that because there are rough seas in Greece in January and in that winter time, that Zeus then again felt sorry for Alcyone and Syx and decided that he is going to give them a period of calm. Just 5 days of calm where they can lay their eggs and their chicks can be safe. So halcyon days refers to that bit of calm within a whole lot of other tribulation. And that's where we get their genus name from. Halcyon. Very cool. And then there's some kingfishers, like the pygmy kingfishers, not the African pygmy kingfisher, though sometimes it is also Syx genus. But the Syx comes from the husband, which I think is pretty cool. I always love Greek myths and legends. When I was a youngster, I never got read any, the typical bedtime stories. There was no Cinderella or Snow White for me. It was ancient Greek myths and legends. My mother used to love it. So we used to have this book, this old book, and she used to read it to us every night. I think I must have known who Icarus was when I was about 3 years old. That's why it's always nice to bring in the things that you're interested in into this. And I think, oh, hello. Well, you also like that story. Do you know Alcyone? Yes, you do. You're still bobbing for me. Oh, well, that's what I wanted to tell you about it. Mal Castro would like to know a little bit more about the kingfisher biology. Well, some of them eat fish, and that's where the name comes from, like the pied kingfisher. They would eat fish, and you'd see their strategy to do that. They have wings that make them hover, so they can hover over the area that they're in, like a lake or a pond or whatever, and they can hover and then they can dart down. And they have special eyes that can account for the refraction that you get in water. So the special eyes will be able to tell, because if you put your hand in water and then you try and grab it, you're just a little bit off. And that's because of the different layers in the water. So those kingfishers, pied kingfishers, have special eyes in order to deal with that. And they're the types of kingfishers that would eat fish and other small water invertebrates. Then you get kingfishers like the woodland that you're seeing right now, and they are more like bush kingfishers. And what they do is they eat small invertebrates that are on land, like little insects and other little things like that, which I think is quite cool because they're both essentially very similar, but they are adapted in different ways. Like obviously this woodland kingfisher doesn't have the same type of eye structure that, say, the pied kingfisher does. And then you have the giant kingfisher, and the giant kingfisher does the same thing as the pied, and he's also looking for rivers and things like that. And that's actually the biggest kingfisher that we have. Then we also get a grey-headed kingfisher, and he's also one that is an insectivore, so they're more likely in the woodland and the bushveld than they are in the water. Makeup Girl would like to know if they see color. Most birds do see color. It's actually, I've been reading quite a bit on it, and it's a hard thing to actually judge, because we will know that they have what they need. They have a fovea, cones, and rods in their eyes, so the perception of color has to be there. But the depth in which they see it can be a bit different. But they do have color receptors in their eyes. And also, birds, I don't know if you've ever been diving, and when you go quite deep, you can see the difference between cold water and warm water. And it comes like in a little band. And I have read that some birds, especially birds like vultures and other birds that soar and use thermals, can actually see the change in pressure in the air, which I think is quite cool. But then it also tells us that it's not just color perception that they are sensitive to, but also different types of pressure perception, which I think is quite neat. This kingfish has been very, very good to us. What others do we get here? Oh, we get the pygmy. The pygmy kingfish is very nice. I've seen one. He's beautiful, and they like bash their prey onto the branches to break it down, and of course to be able to kill it and swallow it nicely. But I think we've exhausted this little kingfisher for the day at least, because he's been so good to us. So let's go to Steve and see what he's got for you.
Well, thank you, Trish. Kingfishers are such interesting birds. Well, you know what we've gone and done? We're about to check Twin Dams after checking Treehouse, but I managed to position BK in a way that he could reach into the depths of the tree, and we have got some ripe false marula fruit. Now, the false marula, as I've discussed before, is part of the mango family, and it is beautiful. Are you ready to see what it looks like on the inside? So when it's ripe like this, you can basically just peel the skin off. Oh, look at that. Peel the skin right off. It's quite bitter, the skin, so you throw that away. And then the fruit, which is juicy with a big pith or pip seed inside. That is delicious. And it actually tastes like a mango. Doing my part for the seed distribution of this false marula. As we go along, we're going to throw them out along the side of the road. But interestingly enough, folks, you don't find false marulas really growing in isolation. They're generally in this area are growing on termite mounds purely because, well, there's a couple of reasons. I remember having a guest many years ago who lives in the Sabi Sands. He got property here, and he asked me, Steve, how come we don't find false marulas anywhere other than on a termite mound? And there's a couple of reasons, and you can agree with me with all of them or one of them or just two. It really doesn't matter. One of them is that the false marula likes to grow with lots of water. So termite mounds, especially the big ones, the big fungus growers, they have access to water. So if a seed lands there, it'll grow quite nicely. Also, let's just frame up those guinea fowl. A couple of guinea fowl coming down to drink. We're checking all the watering holes because, well, we don't know what animals we might find coming down to drink. It's not only the trees who love water, so do the guinea fowl and many other animals. So the false marula seeds will also be deposited sometimes on a termite mound by baboons or some birds or mongoose or whatever it might be, and those seeds will fall in and then obviously find the nice moisture to access down and obviously grow quite nicely. And then the third reason is that because they're on a termite mound, they get a little bit elevated and essentially miss or get missed by elephants that are trying to eat them, because they're quite softwood, and generally elephants will smash a false marula. Ravinda, because false marulas, as the name implies, reveal or resemble marulas in a lot of reasons. The bark looks quite similar, the leaves are quite similar, and like the marula, they're also part of the mango family. So the fruits are much smaller than those of the marulas on the false marula, but very tasty, and many animals will eat them. Monkeys, baboons, elephants, as well as many fruit-eating birds. So there we go. The guinea fowl are mainly seed eaters this time of year, with a number of insects as well. They get quite thirsty, so they need to quench their thirst. And also you'll notice the guinea fowls are in pairs lately because they're all pairing off for breeding. With the rains, with the grass cover, with the vegetation and the abundance of food, it's a good time of year for breeding. So the francolin and guinea fowl and beautiful Egyptian geese, as you can see in the background there, will be breeding as much as they possibly can. Depending how long the rains go, a lot of these ground nesting birds will actually nest more than once, two, sometimes three times, depending on the production of rain and the food. So very nice indeed, and guinea fowls would probably quite enjoy eating some of these false marulas, but I'm being quite sort of greedy and I'm holding on to them all myself. Very, very tasty. Okay, well, that's some beautiful scene there of that Egyptian goose, isn't it? With his little youngsters floating in from behind. I wish I could float like that on the water. Wouldn't that be marvelous? Makeup girl, you want to know if there's any nut trees. Well, the marula itself has actually got a very nice sort of kernel inside that's got sometimes 2, sometimes 3 nuts inside, sometimes only 1. And that nut is very high in oil and also protein, and very, very good. The squirrels are hoarding them this time of year for the oncoming dry season. Everything else is eating them as well. So am I. Actually going to be making some marula beer as we speak. But other than that, I can't think of any other nuts in the area. I know that the jackalberry makes a very nice fruit, but it's more of a berry with a very large seed inside, and you can actually distill the fruit to make a nice brandy. What else do we have? I can't think of any nuts, I'm afraid, at the moment, but the marula is the only nut I can think of. There we go. These parents are much better than the buffelshoek parents, aren't they? I think James might agree with me. We just have to keep tabs on them. How many do you count? 3 youngsters. Beautiful. Just swimming so elegantly in the water, having a little drink. The temperatures have definitely dropped slightly, cooling everybody down. We're feeling a little bit more fresh. We're going to just go a little bit further south from where we are. The lions, I think, might still be nearby. Let's go and see if they've finally managed to digest their waterbuck. But after seeing them yesterday afternoon, Tristan and myself both think that they killed something else, because the waterbuck they killed yesterday morning, there's no way that it's what kept them that full. They must have smashed something else that maybe came down to drink just below where we're about to head to now. So jump on board as we leave these elegant geese to their floating. We're just going to check on the other side of the boundary, just over here. Oopsie. So the false marula is actually quite a nice fruit in that way, because so many of the fruits out here, so many fruits in the wild, actually don't have that much sort of flesh to them. But here, I've almost gotten most of the flesh off, and there's quite a big pip inside. But compared to the size of the fruit, it's actually quite a decent amount of flesh. If you think about some of the other seeds we get out here, the buffalo thorn, terrible. It's basically just skin with a bit of, the skin is a bit fleshy, and that's it. And the raisins as well are just skin and flesh. There's really no meat inside. It's basically just a seed. Whereas here is a seed as well, but beautiful. I'm going to keep, there we go, doing my part. Grow and prosper. Seed, that is called anthrocory, because I'm a human and I've distributed the seed. We all remember those terms. If a bird did it, it would be avicory. If it was an animal, it would be zoocory. I suppose you can call me an animal, but I am in fact a human, and we have got our own special words, anthropomorphisms, when we link to humans, and anthro at the beginning of anything you want to sort of link with people. Would you like another one, BK? I'm being generous. I'm being generous. Okay, so David is saying that the lions killed 2 zebra. So they killed that waterbuck, and then they managed to eat at the later on in that day. So they probably aren't going to go. Let's have a look. That news came from Nkoro, but I was chatting with Rexon earlier, and he's headed east into Torch. Unfortunately, we don't have access to today, but this morning, at some time today, they had Quarantine and Tingana having a standoff. So how interesting would that be? Tingana is obviously, or Quarantine is obviously pushing in on Tingana's boundary in the east, and he is not going to stand for it. He's got Hukumuri coming from the west, Quarantine from the east, Gajima in the north, Nail from over here. He's really got his work cut out for him over these summer months. Let's go back over to Polly and see exactly what he's up to.
I'm sure you're imagining why I'm showing you this thicket, these plants, these trees, these grasses over here. There's a bird alarming here. It's a francolin. Let's listen to that for a few seconds. Can you hear that? I'm sure you can hear that. So I'm using my binoculars and I'm on top of my vehicle now because I don't want to disturb something or bump into a leopard or lion or a snake. It might be a bird of prey. And I'm using the aerial view. And this thing is frustrated. This thing is somewhere around here. But because it's thick, or maybe it's a snake, who knows? This thing is highly frustrated, I can tell you. It's been doing this for quite a while, so now. And I don't want to take any chances to follow what I can't see. So I'll go back to the car, I'll move forward a little bit and see whether I'll find something there. Binoculars. I'm safe. Remember, don't follow what you can't see. Even if you don't see an animal, it's better if you see tracks or signs of the animal. Oh, let's quickly go to Trishala. She has an elephant.
I have found some wonderful ellies. I always love a good sighting with some elephants. And there appears to be a little baby behind that bush, so we're just going to wait patiently for it to come out. In the meantime, we have this youngster to keep us entertained. Very relaxed, swishing the tail. Oh, I know you. So this calf here is this female's baby, the one with the floppy ear. Can you see when she tries to cool herself down, one ear has sort of lost some sort of muscle, the right ear there. So I wonder if that affects how well she cools. You can see it's a bit limp. And this little baby is about a year old, tiny. Everyone says, yay, elephants. I say, yay, elephants too. I love elephants. They're always a joy. Look at them. So this little herd hangs around this area quite a bit. Oh, hello, baby. And like I said, this little one is about a year old. And I'd like you to just have a look at the way it uses its trunk. Look at that. Look at that. Such a big, round swoosh to get some food up into you. So at this point, they're still trying to get used to use the trunk. I had a question about how long it would take to use the trunk, to learn to use the trunk properly. Oh, hello. That would probably take a good 2 years. Or a year. I've seen babies maybe just a little bigger than this that actually can use their trunk properly. In the first year they look quite clumsy and it's quite inefficient. You'll often just see them taking food from mum's mouth instead of grabbing it up on its own. This herd is so calm, so relaxed. They always have been. And I actually think that they're part of Short Trunk's herd. Now, can you see baby still kind of fits under mum there? She's just making it, so that tells me that about a year old is this baby. IVW would like to know if that's mum's poop on her forehead. Let's have a look properly. Ah, gone behind the bushes. Well, when he comes out again, we will have a look. Now let's look at this guy here. Hello, you. You can see. Now look at this. This young one is able to use the trunk quite well, and the tusks are just peeking out. So that would tell me it's probably about 3 years old, and it's quite dexterous with its trunk. I think Mario would like to know how much this baby could weigh. Well, at birth, they basically weigh 100 kgs. So anything beyond that, I'd say about a year from that, I don't know, maybe even 200 kgs. At birth, they can weigh 100 to 120 kgs. So heavyweight. Oh, here comes some more Ellies. Now they just threw some dust onto them, which is really nice. I think this is Short Trunk. Yes, it's Short Trunk. Hey, you wonderful girl. Ah, now you see, earlier Toli was telling you about the trunk and the tracks, and how around the tracks you can often see the trunk kind of being dragged as well. Now, in most animals' cases, that would be true, but in Short Trunk, not so much. Hey, girl. Hey, girl. Oh, isn't she lovely? There's nothing like being around elephants. Now, you can see that she still uses her trunk really, really well. She has little to no difficulty. Obviously, those little prehensile kind of fingers at the end of it, the two that the African elephants usually have, she doesn't have that anymore. So maybe her dexterity is not as good as it would have been. I remember once reading that with those finger-like protrusions, an elephant can actually crack a peanut shell without breaking the nuts or without smashing the nuts. So that'll just tell you just how carefully controlled it is. And though she may lack that, she clearly has no other issues with her trunk. In fact, I know of a story in the Kruger where an elephant had a much shorter trunk. It had been cut or caught in a snare and then been severed. And that elephant, in order to survive, would go down on her knees in the front there and then eat with her mouth, which I think is quite innovative. Oh, I love them. E.T. Bush Lover. Wow. What a name. Would like to know how much water an elephant can hold in its trunk. Well, I do know that an elephant can have up to 150 liters of water a day, which is just ridiculous. But they don't need that amount per day. But I don't actually know how much it can actually hold in one trunk full. But I'm going to guess that it's actually quite a bit, because if you imagine the trunk and in all its, and also I guess it would depend on the size of the elephant very much, but like a huge bull, I don't know, maybe even like 20 to 50 liters, I'd guess. But then again, I'd be guessing. But the whole appendage that is the trunk is just incredible. They've got the mandibular nerves going down it, so they have complete control. And the amount of muscles that people say are in the trunk ranges from something like 50,000 muscles to 150,000 muscles. So it's quite a complex little apparatus. She's so calm. Look, swishing off the tail. She's still feeding. She's cooling herself down by flapping her big ears. And you can see the big veins behind that. Mr. would like to know what is elephant's favorite food. Basically, it's fresh grass. Fresh grass makes up the majority of their diet when it's available, but one of the things that they absolutely enjoy, and I know this, I've seen it in their poo constantly, are the marula fruits. In fact, the marula fruit, oh, look at that. I love seeing elephants do this. So they pick up bits of grass and vegetation and then they whack it on themselves to clean it off after any sand around them. Very cool. So these marula fruits, when you get bulls and must and they have too much marula, they kind of get a sugar high and start behaving quite badly. See there, she's just sussing us out again. She lifted her foot and just gave it a wave. But she is truly comfortable. Jan would like to know exactly what those temporal secretions are, especially in females, because we always kind of associate it with must and the males mostly, but it's actually not a result of must. It's an indication of must. So what it tells us is that the animal is under stress. And that could mean a whole lot of things. Stress is just a heightened... Oh, look, she's scratching herself. Stress is just a heightened sense of anything. So it can be because maybe she's thirsty, maybe she's too hot, maybe there's a baby around, or maybe she was harassed by a bull and must. But those type of things create stress, and then she will start to dribble out of the temporal glands. And so males that are in must dribble profusely because they are under so much stress, not because it is a result of must. Rather, the stress is a result of must. And the stress is what causes the temporal glands to drip like that. Now, I didn't know this, but those temporal glands are actually modified sweat glands. Which is interesting because the sweat glands have diminished in every other part of its body, but have been modified and stayed in that area. So everyone's dusting off their meal. There's baby in the middle. Oh, look at the way that trunk wildly moves around. Oh. So can you see what he's actually trying to do? He's trying to do exactly what the adults were doing and grab things and hit it against him or her, but can't really get the hang of it. Very cool. I actually expected to see them either caked in mud or a little bit dark from spending time in the water, but maybe they did earlier on. I love seeing Ellies in the water. Nothing quite like it. Oh, this baby is so entertaining. See the big ears flapping to cool it down also. It is. It's just too cute. Then you get a nice comparison. Big and small. Can use trunk, can't use trunk. Just a wonderful scene. And the sun is setting, so it's a little bit cooler now. Maybe that's why they're not all wet. Maybe they're feeling there's a bit of mud on them. Maybe they were at the dams earlier. But the sun is slowly starting to set. So it's nice and cool. And this area is quite nice because it's open. Well, I am actually heading back to the hyena den because I want to see if those cubs will come out. And in the meantime, Let us go to Steve and see what updates he's got for us.
Well, welcome back. We didn't find any lions in that area. They have probably moved off into the shade to digest their numerous numbers of animals in their belly. And well, we've come around. It's starting to get nice and cool now. I'm just going to go have a quick little look at Gwaripan, because we know that Tlalamba likes to hang out there. Maybe she moved to the block and I didn't find the tracks. Maybe we'll find her sitting up there. But if she's not there, I'm going to loop back to where we had tracks earlier and where she was last seen this morning. Maybe she'll be a bit more active now that the sun is nearing the horizon. Very nice that Trish has found Floppy Ear. Haven't seen her for some time. Well, I've finished ruminating on my false marulas, and I can tell you right now, folks, they are delicious. Delicious. Very, very good. But once you get rid of the skin's quite bitter, and you get the fleshy fruit inside. BK is a changed man, eh, BK? Yes, he is. He's very happy. He got to eat his first false marula. Okay, Gwaripan is coming up on the left. Let's hope. But anyway, while we're about to get here, what are everyone's thoughts about Quarantine and Tingana having a bit of a confrontation? What do we all think? Who would win in a battle between Tingana and Quarantine? You know how this works, folks. Hashtag SafariLive. Let me know what you think. One word tweet, Quarantine or Tingana. Okay, well there, BK, if you're going to turn very quickly, you're about to get a Dacre over there. Dacre just on the other side of the... Nope. They do not like being filmed. The Dacres, but we do have a Cape turtle dove that's about to have a little bit of a drink. Turtle doves have got the unique ability of birds to be able to suck water up like a straw. All other birds have to physically put their beak down and then scoop. Beak down, scoop. Whereas a turtle dove, look at that, can actually pump it up. All doves and pigeon, oopsie, there he goes. He didn't like the attention. All doves and pigeons are able to actually... Quite a unique sort of thing that they can do there. But to see one come down on their own is quite risky, isn't it? I did a study, and I have told this before, folks, and if you have heard it before, I do apologize if it bores you, but they did a study with a peregrine falcon and doves, or it might have been pigeons, where they tested the flight distance that the doves would need with the peregrine falcon approaching. And it was a tame peregrine falcon. They would put one dove there and they would let the peregrine falcon at a certain distance and would fly. And what they noticed is that the lower number of doves that there were, or pigeons that were drinking, the higher success rates or higher chance there was of the peregrine catching. The increased number, I can't remember what the number was, but I think it was maybe above 10. Once there were 10 or so, maybe more, 15, then it became almost impossible for the peregrine to catch the bird because so many more eyes are watching the skies. And while the dove having its head down, you know, they got eyes on the side of the head, they've actually got quite good vision. Whereas if you're having to duck your head down and do this, you're kind of getting blind spots as you move. So it's a technique that I think is quite successful with doves and pigeons. And it's probably why we see so many of them around. There are so many doves in the park, the seed eaters. They have their own environmentally friendly straw. I hope all of you out there are using environmentally straws these days, because they are a really big problem for the environment. I'm only really going to restaurants and the like that use straws that are environmentally friendly. I've even got my own portable plasticky metal one, yes, which I always forget to take with me anyway, but I've got one, but I never use a straw anyway. But I hope all of you are making the conscious decision to use only paper or reusable straws. Yes? Anyway, send through your hashtag SafariLive one-word tweet, Quarantine versus Tingana. Seems like I've lost Murray again. Have I lost you again, Murray? There he is. Okay. Well, we're waiting for your answers to come through. I haven't met Quarantine, but he did survive. He did survive or grow up around Quarantine close to our camp. So he is a male leopard that I know most of you out there know quite well. Peter Viper, you want to know why most male raptors are bigger than most female raptors are bigger than males? And there's 2 points for that, actually. There's 2 reasons. The one reason is that the female in big raptors generally spends more time on the nest when they are breeding than the male does. So she doesn't need to do as many trips flying around. His sort of diminished size means he's more capable of flying and spending more time actively searching for food. But then what it also means is when they're not breeding, is that the male and female actually have a different feeding strategy. The male being more swift, able to fly in different vegetation to that of the female. You see that noticeably in goshawks, where the male can be much smaller and he can fly through the vegetation, whereas the female has to have a little bit more of a different strategy so that they don't compete with each other directly. You see the same thing with many birds like the wood hoopers, where the male's got a much longer beak than the female, so that they're not competing with each other for food. They have a different sort of niche when it comes to feeding, so the same species can coexist without them. You know, when you get married or you have a close partner relationship, you learn to either share or to divide things equally. And if you don't do that, your relationship's not going to last very long. So that's what birds essentially do. Strategy or in whatever it is that they do. And so when it comes to large birds of prey, the females are not always, but most often much larger than the males. And that's those 2 reasons for food procurement. Males are more active during the breeding time, and also the female spends a lot of time on the nest. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so we are on the road, Quarry Pan Road, heading back towards the south of Buffelshoek watering hole. And the temperature is so much nicer now. And we're going to head around down onto Nyala Road North and then head down towards where we last saw Kalamba this morning. So everybody, it seems like it's a bit of a stalemate. There seems to be a 50-50% draw on Quarantine versus Tingana. Probably Tingana because of his size and or his experience, but Quarantine is a big leopard. But a lot of you are thinking as well that Quarantine might take it. A lot of you thinking Tingana. Well, everybody, I suppose that would be one of those things we'd all have to see, wouldn't we? Now, Rexon said that they were demonstrating with each other earlier. Now, male leopards don't necessarily fight each other. They'll scent mark, and they'll only really fight if it really comes down to it. Because can you imagine tackling with a big male leopard? The injuries you're going to receive after. Even if you are a big and strong male leopard, the one you're fighting is also a big and strong male leopard. Otherwise, he wouldn't be putting himself forward. So everyone's agreeing. A lot of you are agreeing with what I've said. They will try avoid each other, and they'll try partition. We were talking about birds partitioning their space and environment. Male leopards will do the same thing. Okay, we've got a bird chirping on top of the tree. Let's see if we can get him on camera. We try very so often to get these small birds. The top one. Oh, the fork-tailed drongo just chased him. Okay, so the one on the left, please, BK. That's a forky. Go down and left. Left. There we go. Yay, we got one on camera. I've been trying to get one for ages. Oh, now he stopped. Here we go. Now, I wonder, let's see what the viewers back home, if they're able to identify this little LBJ. Now that he stopped calling, it's very hard. With the call, it's very easy. You might have heard the call before. Come on. Give us some more calls. He's going to call now. I wonder if you can hear that at home. Hashtag SafariLive if you know what this bird is. If you don't worry. We'll help you work it out. Okay, so if you can't hear it very clearly, Maria says it's very soft. I'm going to play it for you on my phone. Ravinda, we don't get blue jays in South Africa, I'm afraid. Let's have a little listen here. Do you want to just go back to the fork-tailed drongo on the top there? As I play the bird now in my hat. Have a listen. Anybody know that call? I try very often to try and get them on camera, but they're so fast moving and they just never sit still for us. Joy, it is most certainly not a bulbul. Bulbul is actually quite an easy bird to identify because they got quite a few colors on the body. That bird there is very nondescript. We call them an LBJ because they are little, they are brown, and they are jobs. So little brown jobs, those very difficult birds to sort of identify because essentially there's not too much to go by. But when they call, very, very easy. There's the fork-tailed drongo, much easier to identify, whereas the bird that is still calling, probably one of the loudest or the most sort of ongoing calls out here. Murray can't say it though, but Murray, you said someone's name there. They got it 100% correct. Let's see if Murray can say the name one more time. I'll show you the bird now. You can all get a look at it. Raisa, you got it 100% right, and Murray is choking on the words now. It is not a very easy bird to pronounce, but here it is on my phone, the rattling cisticula. Some people call it a cisticola, some people call it a cisticula, really however you'd like to. And it is rattling because you hear that I can't do it very well, but there we go. Very nondescript. You see the coloration. There's really nothing to it that would make you go, oh, I know exactly what that is. But as soon as it calls, very, very easy. There are so many cisticulars. Let me show you real quickly. Have a look at this. Now, these are the cisticulars. Now, the difference between them. Oh, Seb is messaging me. These are the cisticulars. The differences between them are very, very little. But the calls are exactly what we're looking for. So there's very slight differences between them, and there are so many cisticulars. It just goes on and on and on. So call is often a very helpful tool when looking at cisticulars, and that's why we call them LBJs, because you actually get specialized books which help you to identify these birds specifically. Well, it seems like Trish has moved on from her elephants and she has gone to the best place to be right now, and that is at the Djuma Den.
Yes, from elephants to hyenas. I once saw an interesting elephant-hyena interaction when Jamie was training us. And the elephant got so angry with the hyenas all walking around that it actually directed its anger at us, which I thought was a bit mean, but we learned a lot from it. Now you are looking at Corky. Gosh, I miss Corky so much. I haven't seen you in so long ago. What were you doing away from here? Just relaxing. Oh, I'm hanging around here at the den. The adults are around, so it's fairly safe for us to be here. We won't jeopardize the cubs' safety at all. So that's nice. I'm really hoping they come out. I can't wait to see what Plonk looks like in the flesh. Oh, look at that wonderful sky. It was quite windy earlier on, but now it's super still. It's still a bit hot, but not nearly as hot as it was when the sun was out. Corky's also enjoying it, enjoying the sun being a little lower. Now, I think it was June that was sitting with her, but I didn't get a good look again, but I did see her earlier in the little pan in front of them. And she looks like she must have walked to the actual den. But I can see the hole from here, and I can't see the cubbies. No. I suspect that if it was Jude that I was seeing here, that these cubs are hers, because last month she was seen with suckle marks. So, new cubs around. So that'd make 5 cubs. We've got Pretty's 2, Corky's 1, and then possibly June's 2. Did you take a dip, Corky? I think you should go take a dip in the water. Flies are bothering her ears. It always amazes me how animals have these... I guess it's the same for us too. Like when you have an itch, you instinctually just scratch it. There's no effort, or it seems that there's no effort involved. But, you know, we're always used to using our hands. And with these guys, you see them doing it with their tail, with their ears. Even like with impala, you see them kind of react by shaking bits of muscle along the flanks of them. I think it's quite a nice natural response to things biting you and all of that. And I saw the flies on her ear, so and I'm definitely 100% sure she's not thinking, oh, I should move my ear, I should move my ear. No, it's all just a natural response. Oh, you can see the flies. Hey, Corks, do you think we're talking about you? Do you know we're talking about you? Because we are. Oh, Patty, I 100% agree with you. I think this is the best house they've ever had. It's kind of like a mansion. The den is nice and big. There's so much shrubbery, and it's like, you know, they've had a landscaper come in and do their garden. They've got a nice plunge pool in the front there. Some vegetation around there too, and I am so sure that some unsuspecting impala and other such come past, have a drink, and before you know it, it's a meal for Corky and company. The big boss. I always like to think of Corky as the big boss. I always get asked what if Corky had to verse like Kukumuri or verse Tingana, who would win? I'd like to say Corky. I don't think she'd kill the other two, but I definitely think that she'll manage to get away. She's sneaky, and she's a mob boss, so she's got tricks up her sleeve, I think. Oh, Corky, I missed you so much. So she's just doing the same as every single other animal in this reserve today, trying their best to keep cool. Now, I can't imagine, the ground must be actually quite hot, but maybe it's cooled down in the last hour or so. I think I'm actually going to move around. Now, I told you that I saw what I thought, or who I thought was June, move past the vehicle and go to the opening in the den. Or at least I thought she was, but I was looking at Corky. So let's actually go around and see if she has managed to take the cubs out. Oh, Corky, you are just lying about there now because your son is no longer the tiniest. So you think you can have a day off, eh? Okay, so while I move around and see if we can get a look at those beautiful cubs, let's go to Koli for an update and see what he's got.
We are back, popular demand, with my grass here. This grass is called the finger grass because you can see there's inflorescence like grass. So why I stopped here is because of these 2 marula trees here. See 2 marula trees ahead of me. It's one on the left and one on the right. This road is on the eastern side of the reserve, going down to north. But it's not the eastern side, I mean the sunset side, it's the western side. I'm sorry about that. So why I stopped here, it's because this is where Hukumuri and Tingana's boundary, territories meet. I can say this is an ecotone. It's interesting because we have these markings and it's so easy to identify them. when you go look for Hosana or for Tingane and Hukumuri. You know, when you're on the site, we are with Hosana, Tingane on the site, or with Hukumuri. Just imagine if we can have this beautiful sighting, seeing them marking their territories next to each other. That would be amazing. So moving forward, the weather is getting cooler now, having some wind. And please don't forget to ask any questions or comments on #SafariLive on Twitter or YouTube chat stream. I think I have to change my name. I have to use the name Kaya, because that's what my granny calls me. My granny doesn't have teeth. She's teethless. And what's amazing about that is that my granny told me that she lost all her teeth in 1973. Ginger wants to know more about my culture. Before that, let me tell you about my granny. My granny lost teeth when she was 73 years old. They all fell out. I don't know what happened, but that's what she said. In 1973, it's a long time ago. So it's so I always ask her that does she miss chewing something, or chewing a nut, or biting a meat? Because when she buys peanuts or nuts, she grinds them using a rock. She's got this special rock. She grinds them, then she will eat them with a spoon. Ginger wants to know about my culture. Where to start? But I'm having this grass. You know what happened before the initiation? We have the female initiation in Ndebele, and we have the male initiation. The female's initiation, it happens during December time, from December to January and February. Then the male initiation happens during May, June, and July. So what happens is the males, they use the grasses. You have to be visible if you are going to an initiation school. Before there, you have to take the grass, but if I have time, I will show you how to create that. I call it a torch, because it's this ball that is made out of grass. You put it here, just here. Then that's a sign of a person who's going to initiation school. You have to do that for a month or 2 weeks. That's a minimum. There's a certain grass. You don't use this finger grass. You use the specialized grass for that, because some of the grass, they just, when you bend them, they just break. So while I'm on Hukumuri's territory now, I left Tingana's territory. I'm looking for tracks. Let me check there. Let me stop and check there quickly. Sorry about that. There's a question coming. Oh, it's Missy. You can see. It's Missy. It's a hyena. You can see that one. Forward, backwards, or come the side one. Yes, this one. It's a hyena. In Shangani, it's called Missy. Then in my language, they will call it BC. You can see it's going the opposite direction. So you know, where there's a hyena track, there might be a leopard track. So we're not lucky yet. I'll keep on digging. So confusing. And this side, we've seen a lot of aardvarks digging, and this side it's a lot of termite mounds. Hopefully we will see an aardvark someday, because it's so difficult to see those kind of animal. And that would be amazing if I can I would love, but I will ask the seniors, my seniors, that if it is possible for me to track an aardvark. I know it's difficult because they don't use the same barrel every night. So is it possible for me to go and track? Maybe I'll be lucky to walk with the hyena, with an aardvark. That would be amazing if we can be able to see an aardvark maybe once a week or twice a week, or maybe every day. I'm eating this grass because it tastes very sweet. I think that's the very same taste animals they enjoy. That's why you can see they love eating grasses, especially during the rainy season, summer season. It's nice. But don't eat any grass you come across. There are certain grasses that you must not eat. They smell and they taste bitter. That's why finger grass is one of the palatable grasses you can find. Nutritious grasses. Let's go to Trishala with a hyena while I'm searching for hukumuri.
Well, here's Corky. I went to check out the den and the actual hole there, and then I thought June was actually going to be in there, and it was June. I got a sight of her again, but she was just kind of sleeping quite far from the actual hole of the den. So I'm hoping the more we hang out here, the likelihood of the cubs coming out will just be greater and greater. Hey, Corks. Won't you bring your baby out? Corky's like, oh no, it is my night off. I'd actually like to have a look at Corky's injury, but I think it's on her right side. Do you remember that one, the one with the evoker male? I love the silhouette of a hyena. Oh, Corky, you look like you've got a lot on your mind today. Look at that big head. Massive skull. The skull of a hyena can weigh 3 kgs on its own, which I think is a lot. And we know that the front of their legs, their front legs are longer than the back legs. That's how they have that awkward sort of gait. And you can see how well she's using the long legs apart from the gait. She's using it to rest her head on. She's very cute. Yes, you are. Now that structure actually gives them, like I said, that awkward look and that gait, but it is actually more energy efficient. Now, I got asked, where do the male hyenas hang out? Well, that is a really, really good question. The male hyenas don't they don't stay at the den, that's number one. Number two is mostly the males that you see come here are immigrant males. And what they'll do is they'll come around the den and they'll try to familiarize themselves, or rather get the females to be familiar. What's that, girl? She must have smelt or heard something. They like to get familiar with the females. Not even in a mating capacity yet. They just want to familiarize themselves and make sure that the females know who they are, because they have these kind of friendships in a way. and the ones that are most friendly with the females sort of get to mate, even though when they come into a clan like this and they leave their natal clan, they drop right down the rankings to the bottom. So you'll find that in the evenings or the other times when the females will all be at the den, the males will be kind of hanging about, spread throughout the reserve. They also take to hunting for themselves because they know that if it comes to the den, Chloe would like to know where Pretty and her cubs are. I am really not sure. I was actually hoping that they'd still be at this den, but they're not. As far as I can tell, it just looks like it's Corky and June, which means there's only 3 cubs in there. So I'm not sure where Pretty and her cubs are. Maybe they're still in Little Gari where they were before this. I'm really not sure. And these cubs that were in here at the moment, the littlest ones, look like they're very tiny, probably just a few weeks old. So I wonder if maybe June decided to come and have her cubs here and then move them off, or maybe she's had a cub somewhere else and then brought them here. Maybe Pretty decided that all these cubs are too much competition for her own and has decided to take them somewhere else. I really don't know. And I was asked about the males earlier. Something really interesting is that low-ranking males, the ones that are immigrant males that come into the clan, say at a kill when they have a full animal, a high-ranking female like Corky will have on average 9 kgs of meat to herself, whereas a low-ranking male will only have about 2 kgs, if any, is left. So that'll tell you why males will hang around away from the den and trying to get their own kills or steal their own meat from other animals' kills, because the chances of them eating well once they join a new clan is kind of low. And considering they can gorge themselves with up to 17 kgs of meat in one sitting, I think it's hard for 2 kgs to suffice. Tootie would like to know if they sleep, inside or outside the den. They sleep on the outside of the den. The inside of the den is for the cubs. Even if you see them approach the hole of the den or the entrance of the den, you'll see that they can hardly fit in. And it's meant that way so that big animals big cats like lions and leopards can't fit in. So there's a meaning to all these things. Oh, Corky, please get up and take us to the den. Come, Corky. Oh. Now tell me that is not the cutest. She does look very deep in thought today, though. Peter Viper would like to know if Plonk will not become clan leader despite of his ranking. Well, there's a couple interesting things there. Firstly, if Plonk decides to stay in this clan, it will mean he doesn't have the opportunity to mate, which is a huge thing because mating is the reason animals exist. They want to be able to perpetuate their genes. And if it's basically like, I don't know, a guy staying at home his whole life, it limits opportunity. But the opportunity to mate is so much greater, or the desire to mate and reproduce is so much greater than the desire to be comfortable in a clan. So it is most likely that Plonk will leave this clan and join in another clan as an immigrant male. And then he'll have to start from right at the bottom of the ranks again. But it means that he has the opportunity to breed. Hyenas don't inbreed like leopards can. So if he remains here, he will not breed at all. And then Corky will continue to have cubs, and if she has a female cub, it'll rank higher than Plonk. So Plonk has a few things to think about, whether he wants to stay with Mum, stay in Mum's basement playing video games and eating her food for the next 50 years, or he wants to go out and be reproductively productive. But I'm pretty sure his little head is not even considering these things. Well, we know he's not considering things. These things are built in and they're instinctual. He knows what's best for his species, almost definitely not on a conscious level, but he will want to breed. That is the whole aim of it. It is the end game, so to speak. It's also really nice that I've known Plonk from the time he was born, so we get a nice view of, what he's going to do, and if I watch him for a long time more, then I can really get a good whole story, and I can't wait for that. Anyway, hanging around here for a little longer. Hopefully the cubs will be out very soon. In the meantime, let's go over to Steve.
Well, Trish, it's wonderful that you're able to see the new den site now with the little ones. Wonder, I didn't quite hear if you saw the little ones there, but you did talk about Plonk. So maybe the little ones have come out to greet you. Very cute little fluff balls. Such interesting creatures, hyenas. Okay, so she hasn't seen the little ones yet, but they will pop out about this sort of time. They like to sort of rear their head. I think we got them, yes, it was just after the show the other day on our shorter show. So sort of about this time. I'm sure they'll pop out. They're too inquisitive not to. And it is official that it is June who's the mum. Her first official litter, which is quite cool, in fact. Very low-ranking female, June. So those little cubs are in for an interesting life, being the cubs of low-ranking female. As we all know, they inherit the social standing of their mum, and so maybe they'll be missing bits of their ear in the near future, just like Mummy does. But we've been trying to track down Tlalamba. We've been in the area where she was last seen. No signs, no fresh tracks. She hasn't walked out on top of our vehicle. So we're just going to have one more little look. We've done another big loop around, and we're going to go back down the next road, checking two more sources of water that are close by to where she was last seen. And well, if that doesn't work, then I'm just not meant to see her yet. Not meant to see her yet. As all of you probably know, I've said it a few times, I haven't seen the princess since August. So she has grown enormously since then. But it's that time of day when it is time for them to get moving. Very good chance, if she is around that area, that if we are in the right spot at the right time, we will get her up and mobile. But she must be really hungry. I'm not sure what sort of food she's catching for herself these days. I'm sure she's getting a few birds, a few scrub hares perhaps. Maybe she hasn't quite yet managed to master the speed and agility of a scrub hare. No doubt she's been trying, but probably doves and franklins. Trish is on the wrong radio right now. She is talking to Murray on the Game Drive radio, and he's not going to hear her, Murray. So you can just let her know that whatever she just told me in my ear was on the wrong radio. There's two radios. They do look very similar, I must admit. Not really. Now, everyone on the Game Drive radio, this is the Game Drive, this is FC radio. Now, everyone on the radio is trying to say, last station, please go again with your message. We're not quite sure what it is you're talking about. Because Trish is talking to Murray about some hyena question, and now landowners are going, what's going on about hyenas? It's fine. We all do it. We all do it. We just have to catch ourselves sometimes. I know that Louise and Taylor used to have a running running bet on how many times you could get them to use the wrong comms, which is obviously the wrong radio. So it does happen. At least she wasn't saying anything rude to you, Murray. That would have been awkward. Don't worry, Trish. Okay, so we're heading back down now, west away from Drakensberg, the main road behind us there. And I'm looking very, very deliberately. Murray says Trish only says nice things, and you are so true. She is such a polite young lady, and she's doing so well. She's learning so much. I was very impressed the other day when I took her and Molly out, how she knew her grass. Well, I actually just taught them some grasses, and she picked them up very quickly, and her tree knowledge was exemplary. So both of them are doing very, very well in that regard. So looking very deliberately, maybe Tundi is going to come back to feed her daughter, because her daughter, as I said, is probably very, very hungry. Just sitting in the same sort of area. She doesn't go very far. For the last 2 weeks or so, she's been in the same sort of vicinity, hoping, Mum, you left me here. Oh, I hear some Franklins. Nice to switch off sometimes, have a listen. They've stopped now. It'd be lovely if our vehicles were this quiet all the time. Fortunately, they're only this quiet when we're coasting downhill in neutral with the engine off. Not safe to do when you're on the road, folks, so don't do this at home. You lose all power in the engine when you do this. You do save petrol, though, or fuel, if that is on your mindset. But I do it so that I can hear. Okay, so to come into the drainage, you're going to come through it. The drainage, this actually is all the way up, and that's Buffelshoek Dam to the right. Quite far up, though. And then this drains all the way down to the Mawati drainage that way. And we just came along Batalia, the road that runs on the eastern side of that drainage. And now we're going to go down Nyala Road South, the road that runs on the western side. And there's a couple of along that road. And if she turned and didn't go to Hyena Road Pans, where we've checked twice already, and Rexon also checked, she might have gone east towards the Nyala Road Pans. So there's still lots of water at a lot of these rain-fed pans across the property. So that is what we just got to keep checking. The other pan we checked surrounded by baboons, and so we don't know where she might have gone to. No doubt if they did see her, they would have chased her off. But it seems like Trish is doing the same as we're doing. She's checking the pans, except she's found a swimmer.
Thank you, Steve. And I think I must agree with Steve. We were speaking about who the other hyena was, and I am quite sure it was June. And the two cubs that are in there must be June's, especially since we saw suckle marks on her last month, which is not too long ago as well. And it also corresponds well to the ages of the cubs. So I think we're pretty much on the right track there. And like Steve said, she is a low-ranking female, so of course her cubs will be low-ranking as well. And Plonk, who is Corky's son, will outrank them most definitely. So she's woken up from her spot there, had a dip, and come back out. Oh, yay. Please go to the den entrance, please. See, she's a bit more weary these days compared to how she was. I'm just going to move quickly, Sid. So when she sat down in there to have a bit of a swim, the smell was horrendous. It was almost as if she had farted in the water, although I didn't see any bubbles. But it surely did. It definitely smelled that way. And then she yawned, and then we wondered about her breath. And one thing is, they are very cute, but they're definitely not the cleanest, rosiest smelling animals. Definitely not. Okay, so Corks. Where did you go, my girl? Okay, so there's two entrances from what I can see. There's this one right here, and there's one around the corner as well. So I'm just going to check that one out also, just so we know they're around. So, yay. So Koki's just stood there. Hopefully she'll be calling them out. Let me get into a nice position for you guys. You can see that we're in infrared at the moment, so we're not using any artificial light to make them disorientated. Hello? Or to affect them in any negative way. Oh, you can see that I get excited. Let's see if we can hear her call. Sometimes you can hear her. There you go. Listen. I actually think she's called at this end to see if they'd come out, and she's had no response, and she's going to the other end to call. She's going to wait for a second and see if anything emerges. Oh, Koki. So she's just come out and no cubs to follow. Huh? Round around the hyena den we go. So that's the game we're playing today. Follow Koki and June. I'm quite happy to see June. I don't see her often, and before I'd gone on leave and we found the new hyena den. We hadn't actually seen June in a long time. So I'm gonna keep up with Koki and June here. Hopefully they'll bring out the cubs anytime soon. And let's go to Koli in the meantime.
We are back on another side of the reserve. We are facing north while we are in this central. We have the wildebeest, the gnus, blue wildebeest. We have the impalas, they're clearing. And you're asking yourself why we are in black and white now, because we are using infrared light. It's getting darker now. We are avoiding using the white light or any artificial light. So we don't want to disturb the behavior of these animals. They are baboon in a pen, just right next to the pen there. You know the baboons are always in a pen. This is called the Vuyatela pen. You can notice that on the, if you look at the left of your screen, Uncle James, we have the camera there that operates 24/7. That's a dam cam. That's what you always get all the sounds and the great sightings every day. And when we are off air in our camp, you guys can watch the dam cam. And I was watching the dam cam this before the drive. There's a lot happening while we are off air that was supposed to be live. We saw the movements today. And these guys, they are here. They moved away from the thickets because they need to have a better view of the predators. This is the full-grown blue wildebeest. It's so difficult to see that around this time, that bluish color. It's more visible when we have the sunlight. Before we went live, there were these two wildebeest next to each other, facing opposite direction and twitching their tails on each other's faces. So I thought, but it's a theory. That's what I've read. It's not proven yet, and it's also it happens to the zebras. They say if they are in that position, it means they are chasing away the flies on each other's faces. But it's a theory. I don't know why they do that. I think it's because they are negotiating about something that's not supposed to be heard by the rest of the herd. They'll be doing this, and I think is it? Let me check the moon. Oh, it's cloudy. We have clouds, so you can't see the moon. They normally feed around this time, more especially when it's full moon. They feed, they move around because, you know, the predators like lions, leopards, they love relaxing around full moon. So these animals, they get a chance to feed all night long. The nice weather now. We had a very hot weather this afternoon, but it's changing now. So we have the blue wildebeest and something that will be loved by the hyena with Trishula, which is an impala.
Success! Oh, this is so sweet. We have found the cubs. So Plonk came out first. And he's looking so super spotty. Can hardly recognize him. It's like I've seen my cousin after 10 years. Absolutely stunning. And now we have these two. And I know this is June, and I'm 100% sure these are her cubs. Look at the way that she's behaving with them. Oh, there's Plonky. Trailing behind Mum. Look at him, all spotty. Do you remember how he used to have that patch on his face? Now he's all grown up. Let's just listen. Let's just listen for a bit. Guys, I'm actually just going to keep quiet for a while. And let's listen to all the sounds. You'll be able to hear the mums, and you'll be able to hear the cubs. Let's just listen. I hope you heard that kind of groan. That's them communicating with their cubs, and you can see that it's June in there who's trying to obviously communicate with her cubs. It must be intimidating for June to have her cubs around. It must be difficult for June being around Corky and her cub, considering that she's the matriarch and he is high-ranking. So it must be quite intimidating. But she's obviously chosen to do this with Corky for a reason. And I wonder if it will elevate her rank. Listening. Hey, Cox. You finally brought your baby out for us. Thank you. Okay, so the little ones have been sent back in. I think that's what probably Mum was trying to communicate with them. I know you didn't get a good audio on that, but when you hear them kind of speak to their cubs, that's the kind of deep groan that you hear. Oh, Plonk, you look so pristine. Oh, hello. You're picking our hairs up. None of your business is asking me if there's any good spot patterns on Plonk yet. I was literally just thinking about it because on his left side, the side that we can see now, towards his rear, I'd say maybe on his left thigh area, there seems to be quite a nice circular pattern. So I'm hoping that will be one of the really identifying features of him, especially if his ears stay intact, which I hope they do. Hey, little one. Are you feeling intimidated by Plonky there? Oh, too cute. Oh, I'm so glad I waited this out and I sat with them. So glad I waited it out and I got to see these beautiful, beautiful cubs. And look at Plonk, all grown up. Oh, my boy. You're so grown up. Oh, can you see that? Can you see that? None of your business. Just like on the thigh area there, that kind of round bit. Hey, you curious thing. Coming so close. Anyway, I'm absolutely happy with today's drive. We got to see a lot of things. We got some elephants, and finally we got the hyena den at their new luxury accommodation here in Juma with the pool outside. I'd say maybe even double story up in there. Thank you so much, June. Thank you so much, Corky. Thank you, Plonk. And thank you for those two little stunners, all in black. And thank you to all of you for your questions and your comments. And you can tell that this is the closing speech, of course. And it is that time, definitely, to say goodbye. And I hope that you've truly enjoyed the drive. And remember, catch us